Foreign aid from Western economies, led by the United States, is starting to dwindle, from the shutting down of the US aid to the termination of the multi-million dollar Power Africa initiative, which was launched back in 2013 by the US President Barack Obama. The African continent is coming under pressure across key sectors such as healthcare and power. So where does Africa go from here? I'm putting this question and others to my guests, NG Ayuk, the Executive Chairman of the African Energy Chamber based in Johannesburg. A great Monday evening to you, my friend. Great to have you again on the show.
It's an honor to have you. How are you?
I'm good tonight. Thank you so much. Early Monday, but again, start of the week, Monday evening. Are you worried? Let's hit the ground running. Are you worried, Ayuk? Are the speed at which foreign aid to Africa are being shut down or sharply reduced from healthcare to the power sector?
No, I'm not worried. I think it's actually it is painful, but it's short-term pain, long-term gain. It is something that had to happen. Africa has relied a lot on aid for everything. $2.7 trillion has been spent on aid in Africa over the last 30 years. What are the results? The results have been very, very negative to most African countries. Wherever we've seen so much aid presented to African governments and African communities, the worst the governments have performed, a small segment have profited. And at the what have we gotten out of aid? We've gotten that at the expense of free markets. We've gotten that at the expense by increasing government waste. We've gotten that where you've seen the best has not been able to move because we've always said we are relying on handouts and begging from Western countries. So I actually think they're doing us a favor because right now we would understand one thing. Superman is not coming. Batman is not coming. Wakanda Forever is a good movie, but the Black Panther is not coming. We would have to do what the Asians did, like in China and India or South Korea or Taiwan when they cut aid. They looked inward and they did it by themselves. We need to get intra-Africa free trade moving fast, cut down tariffs and customs and all these duties that blockage aid, deal with our visa issues, move with a lot of trade within Africa. We need to capitalize on that 1.4 billion population in Africa and trade within ourselves. We will make so much money. We will be giving aid to others and rather than continue this perpetual nature of begging for aid. So it's actually, it's a wake-up call for Africa, and we need to heed this call and change how we're doing things.
You're saying, in essence, this is a moment of truth for the African continent. And I remember we had a conversation when the Russia-Ukraine war started about Europeans coming to Africa from Germany, elsewhere, looking for gas from Nigeria and elsewhere. We talk about the Trans-Sahara deal, the pipeline and what have you. So now, I'm not too sure how much gas we're able to deliver to Europe. Europe is still looking for gas as we speak. Energy prices going up. So what should be Africa's response to the dwindling foreign aid? You mentioned that a little bit, but are you seeing signs of progress right now? Perhaps with the African Energy Bank, for example, do you think we are moving in the right direction with what we saw at the African Energy Forum Summit, which was held in Dar es Salaam just a few weeks ago back in January?
We're not moving as fast as we need to move, Burson. We need to be moving fast. We need to have that fierce urgency of now. We need to go on a super drive. I don't think it is something that we need to be happy with, that a country at war like Ukraine is feeding Africa and we have to go beg for food from them when we have abundant gas in Africa. We could turn that into urea, ammonia, NPK, fertilizer plants, and drive up agriculture in Africa so we don't need to beg for food. And on this same topic on aid, the question you got to ask yourself is that when we receive U.S. aid and food, you know who really benefits? It's the farmer in the Midwest in Iowa. It's the American farmer that benefits more than the African farmer because the African farmer is being priced out of the market because this food is donated for free. So we kill local agriculture bases, and even agricultural ministries then put a chokehold on the local farmers. But we need to be able to drive up homegrown natural gas and really drive up Africa. So that is the kind of stuff that would make us to start looking at policies that looks at it. But the real question you got to ask yourself is, when we get this aid, you know what happens? Our own development banks, our own local banks start getting these because they manage some of this aid money, they start saying we can't finance fossil fuels, we can't finance gas projects. So even African money cannot develop Africa or finance Africa because we had this restriction being put on us. So what this aid stoppage means is that it is taking those restrictions out, and we're just going to move with drill, baby drill, and produce every drop of hydrocarbons we can find to better our people. So we thank them for taking this aid and the restrictions away.
Well, so speaking specifically, NJ, to the report on the termination of the Power Africa initiative by the new administration in Washington, well, what's your take on that development?
Power Africa was a failure from day one, because what happened with Power Africa is that they spent so much money doing lectures and workshops across Africa. They did visibility studies, but they ignored one critical component on Africa: natural gas. The ability that Power Africa could refuse to touch on any kind of gas projects when it comes to gas to power and using gas to power Africa all across Africa. That was a failure, because Power Africa relied on driving up just renewables across the continent. So ask yourself this: it was put there in 2015, 2 years, 2025. What are the numbers of people that have come out of energy poverty through Power Africa? Very, very minor. The majority of the money stayed with U.S. contractors and professional service firms like Deloitte and everything. When has Deloitte ever built anything when it comes to delivering projects? Then you have these consultants made so much money off the back of African countries. So it was a big waste. Africans should not fall for this anymore. Power Africa could have been good if it channeled itself to natural gas development and using American technology or American skill set, and you would have been able to drive up. Imagine if Power Africa looked at a country like Nigeria. If you use the gas that's been flared in Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, Congo, Brazzaville, if you look at all that gas flaring, capture that gas through Power Africa initiatives, transform that gas into power projects, we would basically electrify the entire Africa. That was a big mistake from them, and now we're seeing the results of that.
Well, if we're sticking with the energy sector, NJ, the British Petroleum is ditching its renewable goals and returning focus to oil and gas. Even banks such as Standard Chartered says it will no longer be able to run all its operations around the world on renewable energy only. The deadline was 2025. That has since been discarded. So how should Africa seize the momentum of President Trump's regime of drill, baby, drill? President Trump has just 4 years in office. So this moment will not last somehow.
We've been given extra time on this game. We've been told that we've just been given some time to buy in, and that's why we as Africans must move. We must move fast. We must sign those deals. It shouldn't take so long to approve field development programs, be it the Coral North in Mozambique or other projects that are waiting in the office of bureaucrats in Nigeria or South Africa or Namibia or Angola. We should move fast in signing deals. We should move fast in driving up our fossil fuels and gas projects and produce and develop our continent. But I think BP is speaking to the markets. They are reacting to market realities. Demand, when you look at what you saw with outlooks coming out of Vitol, the African Energy Chamber, we're looking at outlooks coming from various well-reputed organizations. It's showing that oil demand is going to continue to be around 100 to 120 million barrels even by 2050. It's not reducing. It's going to reduce in OECD countries, but it's going to go right up in emerging countries and the developing world. There's going to be more demand. So we need to move fast. We need to use this time to really drive up our production, because at the end of the day, what is really going to shape is that it's going to be about who is producing and who is buying and whose natural gas or oil is going to be the market. We want to be that continent where it's natural gas and oil is going to be in the market, where we can export, but we can also use domestically to grow our economies. That's why we need to start planning now. The delays that we've seen across Africa with licenses, that needs to stop. We need to stop. We need to change that. We need to look at our fiscals and improve those fiscals to be more attractive and more bankable. We need to cut down red tape and really be able to drive investors coming in. And that we move fast today, and we drive up Africa's production, because there is no need to keep these delays. It's not helping us.
So if we look back into the electricity or power space, what type of funding, investments and global partnerships can help Africa cut back on its energy poverty in the short to medium term? The World Bank is supporting the AFDB, for example, on the Mission 300 and a few other initiatives here and there. Do you think this will be enough for us to move forward?
It's not enough. I think one of the key things we have to be very careful with this funding initiative. Remember the 100 billion for climate funds? Those initiatives were created, never come. Every 2-3 years, the AFDB and others are saying, we're going for 300 billion, we're going for 40 billion. It never happens. And they renew these pledges and all of that. We need to stop it. We need to really go right at it, because every day people across the continent are waiting. They're asking that what all these big meetings you have and pledges and whatever, we're not really seeing the results. We're seeing bureaucrats taking per diems, sitting in fancy hotels and keep having these conversations when more people are being stuck in energy poverty. And that is something that we have to look at. We have to start looking. I think the idea going in and saying we're going to wait on the World Bank and the IMF because they're going to focus on renewables only, that just becomes the same problem you have with Power Africa. Europe and North America, they're going for coal, they're going for gas, they're going for everything to really drive up the economy. Our partnerships should be partnerships that go for an all of the above energy resources, because all of the above energy requires us to use coal in some stages, some clean coal. There's a lot of beautiful clean coal across of Africa, even in Nigeria, in Enugu State, very beautiful coal there that you can really use and light up the country and industrialize the country, and your greenhouse gas emissions are going to be very low. Same in South Africa or Mozambique or Tanzania. Go into natural gas and really go back there and fund it with World Bank money and really drive that up. It's going to take care of Europe, but it's also going to take care of Africa, and we are going to get out of this energy poverty, and our food crisis is going to be solved immediately. So to have this ideological version of things and saying if it's not solar or it's not wind, then we shouldn't do it. But the sun wouldn't shine forever. The wind wouldn't blow forever. You might need natural gas forever. So let's get with the realities, and let's bring some pragmatic, common sense approach to this discussion and how we invest in it. And we need to be bankable. Banks should make decisions based on the bankability on projects, not ideological narratives being pushed from Western countries and saying that that's how it needs to go. We need to reject this. And I think that with these aid cuts that we're seeing, it's time for us to have policies that make Africa bankable with using all of the above energy sources to drive up Africa. And those partnerships come with markets and investors and companies, not aid organizations and World Bank pushing down those anti-business policies to us. Just to summarize, what will be the key message of the African Energy Chamber and other speakers at your Invest Africa Energy Forum in Paris this year? It's going to be about deals. It's going to be about really getting a lot of transactions that I've been working on. It's going to take place in Paris. I'm really excited about Paris. I already got my ticket. Vive la France, je viens. And we are going to make something so beautiful in Paris. Total Energies, some of the biggest companies, Perenco, Trident Energy, a lot of the IOCs and even Middle Eastern companies I met when my recent trip in Saudi Arabia. They are going to be in Paris, but it's going to be a lot of deal signings. It's going to be a lot of engagements on upstream, but also renewables and everything and all of that. A lot of African leadership is going to be in Paris. We're going to go down the Paris Declaration to really see about financing fossil fuels. But then Paris sets up into some place very special. Boys, and you know where? The big road to Town. We are going to be heading from Paris to nowhere else but Cape Town, where we're going to welcome G20 leaders. It's going to be this big G20 energy forum with investments for that Africa Energy Week in Cape Town. Very beautiful thing. You could love or hate me, but you know I'm going to put a beautiful show in Cape Town. It's going to be so great. Africa Oil Week is dead. It's gone. Right now, we don't even know who owns that thing. Some people say it's Sankofa. Some people say it's the London boys. We don't even know who owns them. They're so confused. But you just keep focused on Cape Town. After Paris, we are going to, our goal is to put up $25 billion in investments. That's what we're looking at. We've had really great relationships and great discussions with the U.S. administration. They are coming big. These guys are not talking aid. These guys are talking investment money, and they really want to go on big projects. And that's what we really discuss in America. I'm excited with our discussion with our American counterparts, and we're going to see big money. That's why we brought in, we hired a lobbyist. We're going to take the game to Washington. We're not waiting for Washington to come to us, and we're going to engage Washington, Texas, and make Africa being as special as we want it to be.
All right, thank you. That's our energy capital conversation. Thank you so much for that well-delivered insight into some key developments in the Africa's energy sector this time. Thank you so much for your time, and wish you a great evening there in Johannesburg. Thank you so much. Enjoy you.